C5 Insight is a Microsoft partner that plans, builds, and supports solutions in Dynamics 365, Teams, SharePoint, and the Power Platform. Contact us to modernize your business today.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, wherever you're joining us from, either in person or if you're going to be watching the recording at some point in the future. So today's topic is Viva Engage. If you're not even aware of Viva Engage, it's actually a Microsoft product. It used to be known as Yammer. Many years ago, Microsoft has made a tremendous number of investments into Viva Engage over the last couple of years, including just about to roll out some new Copilot, their AI components within it as well. And we've had, as an organization, a tremendous amount of interest coming from the community around what is going on with this? How does this help us as a business? Is this for everybody? How does it work? Should we be using it? All those things, particularly since it's included in Microsoft 365. It's just part of the license you get unless you get the enhanced version. So let's dive in and learn a little bit about Viva Engage, what it is, and how it might be helpful to your business overall. I want to start with a quick overview of just what is Microsoft Viva, because Viva is actually a whole suite of products and tools from Microsoft, of which Viva Engage is one. So I won't go through all of these in detail, but they are kind of interconnected. And probably the best way to describe the whole collection is to say, this is Microsoft's platform for better employee engagement. That's a little different than working together types of platforms like Teams and SharePoint and Outlook. Those are kind of productivity tools, right? That's where you're getting work done. Whereas Viva Engage is about making your organization more people first, helping to drive communication that may not always be just about business communication. It might be health and wellness. It might be just people kind of having a water cooler experience together, a way of creating a fabric where people are better connected to each other, to their leadership, and so on. And there's a lot of statistics that I think I'll share some of in this that suggest that those things are not just soft benefits, they're actually very hard, real business benefits to doing that. So our focus today, though, is on one of the tools in this large tool set, and that tool is Viva Engage. So thinking about Viva Engage broadly, two big things to think about. First of all, it is about team engagement, and it includes this idea of communities in it. So if you think about, if you're using something like Teams, for example, Teams has teams, right? You can create a team to do things, and a team is where people come together to get something done. They have a goal, they have a process, they have a project, they're trying to accomplish a business outcome. Whereas communities may not be quite as outcome driven, right? It might be sharing special interests. It might be generalized leadership communication. It might be wellness, diversity, inclusion, give back campaigns, those kinds of things. All of those are great uses for communities, this thing that's important to be talking about in business, but it's not necessarily talking about the business or the work of the business. There's also another component that's a little more recent. That's for giving each user, each person in your company, their own individual voice. And that Microsoft calls those stories and storylines. If you're using any kind of consumer grade social platform, these things are going to be kind of familiar to you, right? For instance, if you use Instagram a lot, in Instagram, you have your own story, right? You can post your pictures in your timeline. You can do storylines, which is your feed. You can do stories, which might be short little videos that show up for a fixed amount of time. Very similar concept with Viva Engage stories and storylines. So throughout this presentation, you're going to see little orange flyout boxes like you see on this page. And I'm going to play these couple of videos that these are linked to. However, I'm going to go past most of those without playing them because I won't have time to go through everything. At the end of the session, I'll give you my contact information. If you want to get the slide deck with the clickable videos, just ping me via email. I'll be glad to get you a PDF copy of the slides. The links will be hot in there. You'll not only have the slides themselves, but you'll also have the ability to play any of these videos. But let me play you this first one. I really like it. This is, I call it a vision video because I think Microsoft is really good at these. It may not kind of say exactly how it works, but it'll help paint the big picture of what is the vision for Viva Engage. Let's take a look together.
Human connections are a key ingredient of an engaged and successful company culture. Yet, building relationships in a world of remote and hybrid work is a challenge. So how can you create a sense of belonging and purpose for employees? Enter Viva Engage, part of the Microsoft Viva Employee Experience Platform. Designed to connect people across your company through conversations, communities, events, and open sharing. With Viva Engage, your employees can have discussions with coworkers, build and join communities, get answers to their questions, share their unique stories and interests, and find belonging at work. Everything from connecting with company leaders to sharing best practices with first-time managers to creating a place where pet lovers can show off photos. Viva Engage strengthens relationships and helps build a culture of involvement in today's hybrid and remote environments. And because it is part of Microsoft Viva and Microsoft 365, it's integrated into the apps and services companies are using around the world to empower people and teams to be their best.
Okay, so I love one of the very first things it says in that video, and that is creating a sense of belonging and purpose. There's a lot of studies that are saying that this is what we as human beings really crave and maybe always have, but it's becoming even more important in modern workplaces. It also goes back to a word that you might be familiar with, company culture, right? This idea of this thing that's maybe not quite tangible, but it's not what's the work like, not necessarily what's my boss like, but what does it feel like to work here? What is this community of people that I'm investing a huge number of my living hours into feel like? Why do I want to come back there every day? Famous words of Peter Drucker, which was one of the earliest business consultants. He said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So you can have the best business strategy, but if you don't have a great culture to support it, your strategy is going to really struggle to be successful. So Viva Engage is something that helps promote this idea of creating a better place to work by helping people create human connections and not just get things done. So let me now take us a little more tangible and play. And we're going to play one or two more videos today, but this 2-minute video that we put together that's a little bit more of a, so what's a day in the life? Like what might you do actually in Viva Engage? Let's take a look at our imaginary employee, Allie Jameson. While Allie is working, she receives a notification via Microsoft Teams. Checking it out on her activity feed, she sees that she's been mentioned in a post from Contoso's CEO, Patty Fernandez. Allie posts a reply to the comment for Patty and others to be able to read. And she wants to comment on this in a bit, so she's going to copy a link using the share option. From here, Allie's going to go down to the main Viva Engage tab in Microsoft Teams. And from the home page, Allie can see a feed of any Viva Engage posts from communities or storylines that she's following. Allie can see a number of different communities that she's a member of. She can visit these communities to keep up with what's going on in Contoso, expand her personal network, or just learn more about whatever her coworkers are up to. Allie remembers she captured a video last weekend that she wants to share on one of her favorite Contoso communities. So she navigates to the community, she uploads the video, and makes a few comments. Allie also maintains her own storyline. A storyline is a page each user can maintain where they share any business or personal information that they like. Responding to Patty's praise of Allie's work, Allie wants to promote storylines to all of Contoso. Here's where she's going to use the link she copied to Patty's post. Notice that when Allie includes the link, it automatically puts a summary of the post directly into the comment. As you see from Allie's post here, storylines are another way Contoso gives every employee a voice, not just in helping to improve the business, but to know and be known by their coworkers, to build connections and a personal network, and to improve how they contribute to Contoso. So that's kind of the big picture. We're going to dive a little bit more into there's a lot of stuff going on there, even though it looks kind of simple. What are all those features? How do they work? How might they benefit the organization? But keeping with big picture for a couple more moments and maybe one or two more slides, what I would say is in today's business world, particularly if you're a distributed business or a remote work business or some combination of those things, digital connection is really, really important because physical connection just isn't happening, right? That physical water cooler experience may not exist, or if it does, it might be that your employees are tracked over multiple floors, multiple buildings, multiple cities, multiple countries. So the ability to bring those relationships together despite the geographic boundaries that exist between us is increasingly important if we want to create great places to work where people are highly motivated and look forward to coming into work every day. Viva Engage is a tool that really helps accomplish that. Even in our small business, we use it quite a bit to accomplish some of those same things. Put differently, Viva Engage and the whole Viva suite is about giving every person a voice, creating connections between people. What we've developed over the years is, when we think about this, is something that we call the luck principle, or being powered by luck, because every human relationship starts with listening to each other. That can be digital or that can be in person, but not just listening, actually understanding, right? Who is this person? What motivates them? If there's something hard going on in their life, what's that like? And how does that feel? And how can I come alongside them with that? Then, armed with great knowledge and great understanding, we can form better connections with each other, right? Connections are just habits. They're just ways that we reach out to our fellow human beings. Connections can also be very tight business processes, and Viva Engage can help facilitate that as well. And then we know how we're doing. We know how we're developing with that person. We can always seek to improve continuously. And the benefits are real. According to this MIT research statistic, the more we help our people connect with each other, the more our people actually benefit the top and bottom line of the organization. So there's real value in helping to drive human connections. It creates ideas, it creates loyalty, it creates less absenteeism. Many, many good things come out as a result of it. Allison already introduced me, but here's my quick introduction slide. My name is Jeff Abels. I've been doing this for quite a while. In fact, I started this company. We celebrated our 20th anniversary a few years ago. We are now 22 years old. It's 2024. I geek out on this stuff, so I've written some books on it. I've helped to co-write some books and even hopefully inspired a few. I'm a Microsoft MVP, which basically just means I spend a lot of time doing things like this, helping the community to understand what some of the benefits are that they can extract from their investments in some of the great Microsoft products, and helping them as clients to implement those and put good plans together. But the important stuff is on the right-hand side of the slide there. So there's my little village. My wife and I, June, are empty nesters. You can see two of our little grandkids peeking into that little family around the camera photo, with both of our daughters and their awesome husbands with them. And our free time, in addition to hanging out with our little empty nest housemate there, Verdi, we love riding a motorcycle together, and we love experiencing fine spirits of all types together. All right, enough about me. Let's dive into the content now. So I'm going to deeper dive into some of these features and functions to kind of walk you through what are each of the main things that this can do. I'm going to talk about the app itself a little bit more, and even how it integrates with some of the other parts of the Microsoft suite, so you can get a vision of that. And then I'm going to talk about planning, which is actually probably the most important thing I'm going to share with you today, because it's easy to set this up, but it's not easy to be successful. So the way I'd put it is, it's actually simple as an application, but getting traction, getting adoption, being successful with it is not easy. In fact, simple is almost always more challenging than complex is. So we're going to share some ideas at the end of this around what we do to help some of our clients with planning, and give you some tips that you can take home with you. Okay, so a deeper dive into the capabilities. Quick overview of the capabilities. You kind of saw some of these in the overall videos. You've got this idea of communities. This is for getting teams or groups of people together, stories and storylines, sharing your individual story. And then within those, you have different types of posts you can do, different ways people can engage with those posts. There's also some newer capabilities around leadership corner campaigns, Q&A or answers, and there's a new Copilot capability as well. So we're going to try to touch on each one of those in the time we have left today. I mentioned communities earlier, but I want to dive into them a little bit more. Again, I'm going to skip past videos for the most part for the rest of the day today. But communities think about them as interests rather than work, right? So if you're a Microsoft shop, if you've got Microsoft 365, you have Teams, and you have Viva Engage. And a lot of our clients come to us saying, do we really need both? What's the difference? When do we use each? And in more and more cases, we're saying, yes, you probably should use both. How you use them might vary pretty significantly depending on the type and complexity of your business. But when you think about Viva Engage, think about interests rather than work, or topics rather than work, right? Teams, very much a productivity application. People need to come there to get stuff done and to share knowledge. It's going to help people get things done that they need to do to deliver on whatever their job responsibilities are or special projects are, and so forth. whereas Viva Engage is more interests, it's more topics, it's things people really want to be talking about, and maybe that you really should be talking about as an organization, but they're not really an outcome driven thing. And you can see a list of bullet points there. I can tell you, by the way, if you want to start with something that's almost sure to resonate, start with a community called pets, because everybody loves sharing pictures of their pets. So that's a great way to kind of get everyone engaged and having a little bit of fun with it. But you can see a bunch of other ones there, and you can see some of those are even businessy, right? On the very bottom there, Office 365 support. What we do for most of our clients when we're setting up portals to help them with training and that kind of thing, we'll also set up a self-service support portal in Viva Engage, because it's a great way for people to come and say, this isn't really about getting work done, but it's about something I need to use to get my work done. People can support each other with it. We'll learn more about that in a minute. Another community type we really like is that second to last one. We call it Cheers for Peers, but it's a way of saying, hey, you know what? When your coworker does something exemplary and should be appreciated for it, post it in there, and everyone can see that, hey, wow, Aaron stepped up and did this thing for me that I wasn't expecting to be able to get done myself, or I was out for a week and somebody really stepped up and filled my shoes in a way I could have never asked them to do. That was above and beyond. I just want to thank them. And everybody's coworker sees this, they can respond to it, you can have conversations around it, and it's just a very, very small way of recognizing people. And it's not a replacement for a full-scale recognition program, to be sure, but it's part of a good recognition program. Now, stories and storylines, I mentioned those before. Stories and storylines are your individual place in Viva Engage. So communities are a place you can go set up, and you can have a community owner, and those tend to stay focused on whatever topic you name the community for. You may or may not even allow everybody into the community, right? There might be certain communities that maybe it's going to be women executives is one that one of our clients set up and said, well, of course, we only want women to be able to participate in that community. So they made that a little bit more of an exclusive community. Others might be organization-wide. But stories and storylines, everybody gets those. And the interesting about them, to me, is they're really a place for sharing almost anything, anything that doesn't have another home to put it into. So those anythings could be, maybe I'm an avid user of Dynamics 365 sales, and I want to post a new tip that I've learned how to do something with that. And there's really no team or community that makes sense for me to post that to. Well, I can post it to my story or storyline and just share it there and then put a link out there for people to see. And that becomes part of the searchable database of Microsoft 365. Or I could post something completely personal. Hey, here's a picture of my dog. Or I went fishing last weekend. Here's a picture of me holding the fish that I caught. Whatever it is. So it's a place where you can kind of go to on a more interpersonal way, know and be known. Have those conversations that sometimes are a little more work related, sometimes are a little bit more personal related, but it's whatever I choose to talk about. And similar to other social forums, I can follow each other. So if I'm in a smaller group of people, I may have an organization of 150 people, but I might only follow 5 or 8 or 12 of them. And whenever they post to their storylines, I'll get alerted automatically about that. When other people post, I might be able to go find those, but they won't show up in my kind of alerts list of, hey, Allison posted something new in her storyline or something like that. So a very social way of remaining engaged, knowing and being known, having a sense of connection to your coworkers, and being known at a deeper level than just here's who I am as a professional. Now there's 4 different post types. So let's go through those real quickly. And these post types, by the way, can be in communities or in your personal storyline. Wherever you're posting, you'll have these 4 options. The first one is the obvious one. It's the idea of just a discussion, right? I'm just going to post something, a few words. I can put pictures in there if I want to as well. These can be very business related if I want to. And when I start a discussion, people can follow up on that in a thread, right? So you can see Diego made a post there. Johanna made a follow-up post or added to that discussion. You can create new discussions wherever you have permission to do so, and always on your storyline. Questions are also built in. So this is a post type where you can say, I want to ask a question. I'm looking to get an answer. The kind of cool thing about this is, as the questioner, I can actually mark an answer right. And that becomes part of your internal knowledge repository. So you can see here, Allie asked, can I change my open enrollment options mid-year? And Adele provided Allie with an answer. Maybe 5 other people provided answers too, but once Allie read Adele's, she said, that's the answer that I needed. She marks that as the best answer. It automatically goes to the top. And now if anybody is searching for that knowledge again, they may actually find it here without having to post it again or ask someone for that particular piece of information. I mentioned praise before when I said cheers for peers. This is another certain post type, and it's a way of saying, I want to praise somebody for something. And it gives you some different options for the icons, and you can recognize one or more people. It actually opens up a discussion as part of it. So you not only praise someone, and they get alerted that, hey, Deborah, Miriam sent you a praise. She gets a ping like, oh, wow, that feels good. My coworker praised me. But maybe someone else comments on that and says, you know what, Miriam, you're right. Deborah's fantastic. She's always doing phenomenal things for our department or something like that. So it's a way to kind of keep that conversation going and provide a lot of that recognition that people enjoy in their workplace, no matter who you are. And the last one is a poll. This is a way you can just ask a question and get an answer out there. They're simple polls. They're not sophisticated surveys, but you can put a quick poll out there to ask for feedback. Here, Patty, the CEO of our imaginary company, Contoso, asked for a bit of feedback that she's going to use to maybe help address some issues in future meetings and so on. So you can post a poll anywhere you'd like to. So 4 different post types you can put anywhere you want to. And by the way, I'm not going to cover it today, but you can respond to those posts in different ways too, right? You can thumbs up them, you can give them an emoji, you can type a new response to them. So there's lots of ways people can engage with these posts once they show up. Now for the next couple of slides here, you're going to see a $ after what I talk about. And that's because these are Viva Engage premium features. So you need to pay to get these features. If you have any version of Microsoft 365 at all, everything I've talked to up until this point is included in Viva Engage. What I'm going to talk about from here on out is either not included or is only partially included. I'll try to talk about that briefly as I get into it. So Leadership Corner is a way for team members to kind of get to know their leaders and to make sure that leaders are being able to have the voice they need to get the right information and knowledge out across the team. And the nice thing is you can go into Viva Engage and you can say, here are the people I've defined as leaders. And for each of those leaders, I can say, here are the audiences I've defined for each of those leaders. So now whenever one of those leaders posts, whether it's in a community or whether it's on their own storyline, that audience is going to be given special premium attention that, hey, Jeff just posted something that you might need to be aware of. Here's a link to it so you can go look at it. It also allows you to execute things called Ask Me Anything or AMA Teams meetings, which is a great feature for if you're having an out loud Teams meeting, even if you're running it in Teams. Separate from that, you can have an AMA session open in Viva Engage, and people can be posting things to that, and you can either answer those out loud in a video meeting that's going on concurrently with it, or you can post them directly in line within that community that you're posting into. We'll talk in a minute about Copilot for guiding this a little bit. You can also even do delegated leadership posting. What that means is if you're a fairly large organization and you start to say, you know, in addition to my leaders taking the initiative to have their own voice, maybe I've got internal communicators that take on some of that responsibility on behalf of the leaders. So it's kind of like having a ghostwriter for your leaders where they can post things in a leader's name to the rest of the organization. It feels like that leader is the one pushing that out there. Again, that's usually once you're hitting somewhere between 500 and 1,000 employees is where we start to see that become a useful capability for our clients. And certainly as you get even larger than that, it becomes critical because there's just not enough time for leaders to have all the communication they need without the support of professional communicators to help them with that. Campaigns is another premium feature. So campaigns allow you to actually drive engagement a little bit more. The interesting thing is whenever you create a campaign, you can attach a hashtag to it. You can see a little example here, wellness challenge. It could be giving challenge. It could be Viva Engage adoption challenge, whatever you want it to be. But you're kind of challenging everybody to let's talk about this. Wherever you talk about it, your personal storyline, another community, whatever it is, you put that hashtag in there. That is going to be tracked back to this campaign. So you can see how much engagement, how much conversation you're creating around this topic. You can even create a goal and assign it to that campaign. And it can be any kind of goal you want. There's no automatic tracking here. Whoever owns a campaign has to go back and update that goal periodically to say, here's how we're doing. But it can be, we want this much time to be given to this, or this much time to pass, or we want to raise this much money, or we want to create this much engagement on Viva Engage. Whatever you want the goal to be, you can then work towards that goal together and update that as frequently as you want to generate some knowledge and excitement about reaching towards that goal. And you can use those analytics to track your overall campaign success. So you have a campaign tracking page and you can see how you're doing with all of that. Now, this is something that's kind of got a $50 sign on it. Same sign as you saw before, but you saw that there's a post type called a question. That is freely included. But there's an enhanced capability, a premium capability called answers that can take those questions to a whole new level. And it makes them much more searchable. It helps with crowdsourcing those questions and answers. It even provides little fun recognition things around who's asking the most questions, who's answering the most questions, to try to drive people to collaborate together, to crowdsource, to actually help answer questions efficiently for each other. It also proactively builds a knowledge library. It uses another capability underlying the entire Viva suite called topics. And it will put all of those different answers under topics and make it much easier for people to search and find what they're looking for to get answers to their questions in real time. So those topics get tracked across all of the communities. And I hit the wrong button. I will play this video for you. So Copilot, you're probably aware, but Copilot is Microsoft's new suite of artificial intelligence tools, and they're built mostly around the premise of ChatGPT or OpenAI. They've kind of sub-licensed that and are building them into more and more of the Microsoft suite of applications. Now, Copilot for Viva Engage has been talked about by Microsoft for quite some time now. This month, January 2024, it is supposed to go into pre-release. Last I checked, it has not been released a pre-release or preview release yet, but it should be coming out any day now. I do not know when it will go into general availability, and I'm not quite sure at what pricing level it will come. I'm not sure if this will be a premium feature or if it will be just included. As you'll see in the video, it seems to be aligned with Campaigns and Leadership Corner, so I suspect it will be part of the premium licensing for Viva Engage. But let's take a look at how this can come alongside an executive or a communicator to help them input and output and be as proactive as possible with making things happen with Viva Engage.
Viva Engage is a modern communication platform that leverages social concepts and multimedia content to drive engagement and two-way discussions with employees. Here on the Viva Engage homepage, you can view your feed, see upcoming events like AMAs, and even get a snapshot of trending topics and audience sentiment. This is also where leaders can start drafting a post, for example, to share out quarterly goals with their organization. With Copilot in Viva Engage, you can get assistance drafting your initial post to help your content have greater reach and engagement with employees. You can ask Copilot to suggest language for a post that shares your team's upcoming quarterly goals based on an existing business plan document. It starts generating the draft post and shows you a preview. You're in control and can edit and personalize the content along the way. You can also ask Copilot to adjust the shape of the post or its tone, for example, to make it more inspirational. Images make content more impactful and engaging, and you can ask Copilot to suggest some relevant photos. Select the ones you like, and Copilot will add them to the post for you. Copilot can also suggest potential audience questions you may want to proactively address in the post, along with any relevant links. You can continue to edit and make any last changes before posting it to the team. After publishing, Viva Engage provides leaders with real-time feedback on user engagement. You get the fundamentals, like how many people have viewed, liked, or frowned your post, and you also get rich AI-driven comment summaries, trending rates, and sentiment analysis to understand how your message resonated with employees.
Okay. All right. So That's one dimension. Copilot is a vast set of tools that integrates with Dynamics and Viva and Teams and Outlook and everything else in between. In fact, we're doing a session on that in 2 or 3 hours called GPT and Copilot. If you haven't signed up for that, you may want to go check it out. So that can kind of bring a lot of efficiency to how you're developing things, and even creative spark or creative capability to someone like me who may not be the best writer in the world, something that helps me get started, something that helps me maybe take ideas that are good, but communicate them in a way that's easier for people to digest. All of that becomes part of this.
Struggling to leverage Microsoft Enterprise solutions? At C5 Insight, we understand the intersection between technology, business, and people. Contact us to learn more.
So let's talk now about the Viva Engage app itself. And what I mean by that is there are multiple ways to access Viva Engage to make it easy for people. There's also multiple ways to integrate it to make it available in the other Microsoft 365 applications you may be using. So let's talk about that briefly to give you a background. First of all, there is a standalone application called Viva Engage. You can download it and run it on your desktop. There's also a mobile app that'll work on iOS as well as Android operating systems, and there's a website. So if you just want to go to the URL from anywhere, you can go to the URL, and the functionality is essentially the same in each one of those different things. So all included, no extra cost for that. You can go directly to Viva Engage to interact with Viva Engage. However, it's also integrated with a lot of other things in the Microsoft suite. And this is a good thing because there are a lot of studies that suggest that context switching, having to go from one application to another and back and forth to get stuff done or to keep track of what you've got to do, is challenging for people. It actually hurts productivity and it hurts overall job satisfaction. So Viva Engage, you saw this in my opening video, can be integrated directly into Microsoft Teams. So while you're in Teams, you can just go to another application in your little sidebar over here, and that will take you to Viva Engage. Not only that, but it's integrated both into the Teams desktop app as well as the Teams mobile app. There's an activity feed in Teams. Viva Engage, when you get alerts in Viva Engage, they can actually go into that activity feed. So instead of saying, oh, I got an alert in Viva Engage, or I got an alert in Teams, or I got an Outlook email alert, in one place, Teams, all of your Teams alerts and all of your Viva Engage alerts are right there in a single activity feed. And you can get your communities within Teams as well. You can even integrate your communities into channel tabs. So if you say, hey, I've got an HR team, and I've got a tab called Ask HR in that team, and I want people to use Viva Engage to ask us things because I like the question and answer feature. It's much better than what's available in Teams. That's fine. Create a tab in that channel in Teams. Within it, you can say Viva Engage, you pick your community, and now it's integrated directly into Teams there as well. SharePoint also allows Viva Engage integration. You can embed Viva Engage directly into sites. There's multiple different options for doing this. It's just another web part. So if you're designing a page in SharePoint, you're adding web parts, you can search for Viva Engage. You can see the different options, and you can say, I want a community in here, I want a general conversation in here, I want it view only, I want it interactive, however you would like to do it. Cheers for Peers is a great example. I shared that earlier. If you're a small company like us, we put it right onto our homepage. So it's a reason for people to come to the homepage and go, oh, you know what, Haley did something awesome last week. I really want to give her some praise for that. I go to the homepage, and by the way, I see other news and other information that's recently been shared on the homepage while I'm there, but I put that there, and that drives Haley and others back to the homepage to check it out when they get the alert. So you can do that everywhere. If you want to include Ask HR in SharePoint on the HR site, you can embed that as well too. No code integration directly with SharePoint. There's a new solution also in the Viva suite called Viva Amplify. I think it came out just within the last 3 months. In fact, it might even still be in pre-release. But Viva Amplify is essentially a campaign management tool for internal communication. So this is a place you can go to and you can create Viva Engage campaigns, but you can also post both to Viva Engage and to Outlook posts. And I believe Microsoft will continue to add other things to this, like Teams as a channel. So if you're an internal communicator and you're saying, gosh, I need to take this information, I need to share it maybe in multiple different places, well, now you'll have one place you can go to. It's your internal campaign management solution where you can manage all of your communications across the Microsoft 365 channels. And there's other ways it integrates as well. Viva Connections has Viva Connections is another Viva tool. It kind of links Teams and SharePoint together. And anything you post to Viva Engage can show up in the feed. So you can actually see, here's Teams, here's Viva Connections. With Viva Connections, we're actually looking at our SharePoint homepage within it. And here's the feed. And things that I'm interested in that have been posted to Viva Engage will also show up here. Nice thing about this is if I come to my homepage via Teams, I see Viva Engage content. If I go directly to my SharePoint homepage outside of Teams, I see my Viva Engage content as well as other content right there. So fewer places to go, less context switching for everybody. You can also boost it into SharePoint News. So if you want it to be a featured news item, you can. Everything in Viva Engage has links. So every single item you post, every single community, that can generate a URL, and you can post those, such as in Teams posts or in an Outlook link, wherever you want it to be. And my Viva Engage alerts can appear directly in Viva Engage, or as I mentioned earlier, Teams, or I can get those as Outlook alerts. And also, by the way, just integrated with Outlook recently is the ability to post directly to Viva Engage without leaving the Outlook experience. As I mentioned before, licensing for most of what you've seen today is included with any version of Microsoft 365 you get. One of the things that we're most excited about is a lot of our clients have constituents, stakeholders, employees who are not sitting at a desktop all day, right? They're not corporate employees, they're field service workers, they're nurses in hospitals, they're working at the point of sale and retail, but they're just folks who, they're not on a laptop, they're not on a desktop all day, every day. And those companies oftentimes say, look, it's not worth us investing in a full service Microsoft 365 license for them. But if you get the lowest level Microsoft 365 license called the F1 license, that's only $2.25 per day. That includes Viva Engage and Teams and a basic email inbox. So you can start to say, hey, we can make this affordable and cost effective to have an employee engagement tool that really gives every employee in our organization an opportunity to engage with us. Now, if you are interested in the premium features, I give you a word of caution. Pricing is always a little bit complicated when it comes to Microsoft on this stuff. There's a link there. If you get the slides, you'll be able to hit that to see some more information on it. But there are 3 basic tiers of pricing. There's Viva Employee Communications and Communities, which is $2 per user per month. And I believe that gives you basic Viva Engage plus Amplify. There's Viva Analytics and Feedback. So that starts to give you some of the Q&A features and a lot of the other things with the dollar sign next to them that we looked at. And then there's Viva Suite, which actually gives you all the features of Viva Engage, but also gives you everything else, that whole Viva suite of products, the premium version of every single one of those at $12 per user per month. Remember, you don't have to pay for any of these. If you like the things you saw today and you don't really need Leadership Corner or the advanced Q&A yet or campaigns yet, you've got Microsoft 365, you've got everything you need. One of the things we often run into, because we do a lot of strategic road mapping and planning with our clients when we get started with them, oftentimes they've found some other internal social communication package. And I'm not going to say whether or not they're better than Viva Engage, because frankly, I don't know. We're a Microsoft shop. We don't spend a lot of time evaluating that. But what we do find is that actually creates the scenario of now we're forcing our users to context switch. These things don't integrate as tightly with each other. And by the way, there's a separate licensing cost for it. So there's that to contend with as well. And by the way, that's yet another application for the IT department to support and another learning curve for users. So what I would say is maybe those applications are a necessity for some organizations. And when the time is right, you should evaluate it. But look at what you've already got in your back pocket first, because there's a ton of functionality in Viva Engage to help you socially engage with your team. And I can tell you, if I give you this presentation a year ago, probably about 20% of the content wouldn't be here because that didn't exist yet. Microsoft is constantly enhancing this and making it better and better. Okay, so we've got about 20 more minutes left, which is great to kind of wrap up and talk about what about planning? Do we just kind of turn this thing on and start using it? Well, that's what most people do. And if you're familiar with kind of an old movie now, but there's a movie called Field of Dreams where someone kind of got this prophetic voice saying, if you build it, they will come. He built a baseball field in the middle of nowhere, and a bunch of people came up, including some baseball players who are no longer with us. That does not happen with Viva Engage or really with many communications, collaboration technologies. If you build it, they won't come. You really do need a plan, and you need someone to own that plan and execute that plan. So some quick tips on what that is and how to make that happen. So I'm going to give you 4 tips each for these 3 different areas that are really, really important to consider before you just decide to turn this on and start using it. First of all, planning tips. Identify who your stakeholders are, including an owner for this, right? Someone who says, I am not going to let this fail. I will stay with this. If the general attitude within your organization is, well, we'll turn it on and see if people are going to use it, let me save you some time. Don't bother. You might get a few little adopters, but the interesting thing about Viva Engage is if you don't have a lot of people adopting it, it's never going to have traction because people are speaking into a chamber where not everyone else is listening to them. It'll just fall off. So you need stakeholders who are going to say, we understand the business value. We're going to invest in this. Doesn't mean we're paying for licensing. It means we're going to invest time in planning this. We're going to invest time in motivating our people and staying on top of this until we see broad adoption. Think about what are your communities are going to be winning communities for you, right? You don't have to start with something too complicated and don't start with too many communities. Like I said, Pets of Contoso, great place to start. Put a project plan together that's flexible because once you're partly into it, you're going to discover things about yourself you didn't know. You're going to need to respond to those things. So not a rigid plan, just resources assigned and the time available to address this. And have a communication and channel strategy. It's really important to say, we're not just going to put it there, but we're actually going to communicate about this and within this on an ongoing basis. I think that link still works. If you want to go look at a quick template for a what's called a Microsoft Planner template for putting a project plan together for this, that's a little short video you can go look at about how that might work. The next thing you need to be planning for is adoption overall, right? I don't really like the word adoption. I like the word change management better, but adoption, maybe more fun to say. Change management seems a little rigid and too businessy, but at the end of the day, I like change management because what you're trying to do is you're trying to change a behavior. You're trying to create a new habit. If you've ever tried to do that on your own for yourself when you know you want to do it, that's hard. If you want a group of other people to do it, that's really hard. Right? So you need to do a lot of things to help drive adoption. So make sure your leadership team is engaged, that stakeholder team, that owner, really, really, really important. If they're just kind of like, well, no one's using it, I guess I won't bother anymore. Again, don't start until you have someone who goes, I buy off on the value of this to such a degree that I'm going to make sure I stay on top of it until we see it really get picked up. Set up a learning portal. This is a great thing to have a little learning portal around. SharePoint is a great place for a learning portal for this. I kind of mentioned that earlier. So go set up a learning portal. You can upload videos and stuff like that. You can integrate that with a chat room you set up in Viva Engage. So you can have kind of a support chat, but you can also have training materials. Pretty easy to set up a learning portal in something like Microsoft SharePoint and make those work together. Remember to be super flexible with what you do. Every time we've helped to implement this for one of our clients, we can't predict how people are going to accept and adopt things up front. You have to be sensitive to it on an ongoing basis. So don't say, we're going to do these 12 training sessions scheduled once per week for 12 weeks, and this is what we're going to do, and we hope it's going to work. You might do 2 or 3, and you get into it and you realize, you know what, people are not using storylines. No matter what we do, we haven't been able to get them to uptake that. So let's do a special effort focused on getting them to realize the value of that and getting them engaged there, because that's important. Flexibility. You can pivot to take care of things. And complementing number 2 and number 4, use Viva Engage Community for support. There's a difference between a learning portal, a place where you're going to put learning assets, and a support community, a place where people are crowdsourcing support and encouragement for each other to adopt a solution. Another businessy sounding word that doesn't sound like very much fun, but it's unbelievably important, and that is you need good governance for this too. Look, governance is just about giving people the boundaries they know they need to stay within to make sure that you create a healthy, safe, secure, productive workplace. So you need some basic policies in place to make sure that people are following them. You've probably got some of the essence of this already because almost everyone has some kind of electronic communications policy or something like that in their organization. You just need to expand those a little bit as well. Make your channels really clear in terms of purpose. One of the things we often run into is people who've been doing this for a while. You have 3 channels that all are kind of like, these seem like the same thing. I don't know where I should go to post this. I'm confused. Maybe I'll just go create another new community rather than post in one of these other 3 communities that are confusing me. So be really careful. Part of governance that we have experienced is, particularly if you're pretty large, you need someone to own the idea of even creating communities. So you can go, it shouldn't be the Wild West. Not everybody should be able to create a community or we're going to create problems. Let's have an efficient and streamlined vetting process so people can say, I think I want a community for this. Someone can look at it and say, oh, you know what, there's already another community. You don't even know it's a private one. Let me check with them to see if they'll add you as a member. Oh, you know what, that's actually not a community. That's more like a team. That doesn't exist yet. Let's talk about creating a team for you to handle this, and so on. One of the things we believe in is there's actually an all-company community that's included in Viva Engage. You should turn off the ability for people to post in that. And the reason for that is if it's on, that's where everyone's going to post everything. And frankly, that's what your stories and storylines are for, not the all-company community. The all-company community should be a special place where the whole company needs to know something. Executives, leaders, special internal communicators, they can post to the all-company community. Everyone else either needs to post to their story or storyline or to a community that they're already a member of that they have permission to post to. Depending on when you activated Viva Engage, the ability to turn that off may require a support ticket to Microsoft. If you don't have the ability to do it, just know you'll need to reach out to Microsoft because they've got some old infrastructure stuff they have to work through to get that turned off. And then integrate Viva Engage so people don't have to context switch as much, fewer places to go. If you're an established shop already and people are making heavy use of SharePoint and Teams, the best way to get started is to say, how can I take a few pieces of Viva Engage and integrate them into those environments right now? And maybe gradually I give people access to the application too, if we really get uptake on it. But if I say, hey, we got this new thing and there's a new place to go to get to this new thing, and it's sometimes confusing what goes in there versus what goes in other places, you're going to struggle. There's awesome integration options. Take advantage of them. Lastly, remember that this just does not stay still. You need a place to maintain all these things you're thinking about. So you're going to get new employees. They need to get trained and onboarded. The technology is going to evolve. You know that. I say 20% new in the last 12 months. 12 months from now, I'll be able to tell you things that I don't even know are going to exist yet. So stay on top of that. What's the latest, greatest? How do I keep that governed? But how do I take advantage of it? You're going to learn of needs for new policies because your employees and teammates are going to do things where you're going to scratch your head and go, yeah, maybe that's not quite appropriate, or maybe we actually need to do this a little bit better. You're going to reorganize. You're going to do acquisitions. All sorts of things are going to change. So what we say is you have a physical workplace and you maintain that physical workplace, right? You probably pay a maintenance company to come and do everything from sweep the floors to fix the broken windows to make sure that security exits are still secure and all of that kind of stuff. You need the same thing for your digital workplace. Plan that, put that into your plan, whether you choose to do that yourself or whether you subcontract that to someone like us to make sure that everything stays running smoothly and is modern and up to date. Okay, so a few last closing thoughts for you. I actually presented this about 2 months ago to a larger group, and we had a bunch of other people presenting. And just prior to me presenting, this individual, Jenny Elms with Liberty University's presented. And I actually love this quote, so I put it here because that's what I want to focus on almost more than anything else. All the features and functions, really, really cool, right? Hopefully you like those as you saw them. Maybe they get you excited. But what Jenny said is what we have experienced as well, and that is, you need a robust strategic plan. Robust meaning it can't be too rigid. It has to be well thought out. You're going to need to be flexible with it. The plan needs to include maintenance and support and all of those things. So please, if you saw the 2/3 of this and you think, this is for us, I think we could really get some value out of it, don't go turn it on and just start using it and expect to get a lot of uptake. Take the time to do that plan to make sure it's going to work well. That's what we work with our clients on all day, whether you do it yourself, work with us, or work with someone else. Take the time to understand what the roadmap needs to look like so you're going to set yourself up for success. Okay, wrapping up. We'll have a little bit of time for questions if any came up. I know we've got a small group with us live today, so we may not have any. But some last other things here, whether you're with us live today or watching this recorded, there are some other resources for you. So if you would like to get the slides from today's meeting with all the links to the little mini videos in them, just hit me up. There's my email address, jeff@c5insight.com. Jeff is spelled funny. Send that to me. I'll make sure I get you the PDF with all the links to the stuff. By the way, all those links live in our SharePoint environment. And of course, lastly, this is what we do for a living, right? We're not Microsoft. We're not in the business of selling you the licenses. We're in the business of helping you plan, extract value from, and support and implement these technologies that you're picking up from Microsoft. If you're looking for a partner to help you in that journey, we'd be delighted to have a call with you.